Welcome to this interview. I'm Jay Drackford, and today I've got the pleasure of speaking to Dan Gaze. I first became aware of Dan and his story a few weeks ago when he reached out via Twitter, actually, and spoke to me and the football club at Stevenage. And I watched his story and thought, do you know what, I need to speak to this guy. So yeah, here he is. We're both Stevenage lads. I'm hoping that Dan's story will really hit home with anyone, and if it's just helps one person, that would be absolutely brilliant. So, hi Dan, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, thanks for doing this, Jay. I really appreciate it, by the way.
Oh, no worries at all. I think it's amazing, your story. What I've seen and what I've read about you is fantastic to see what you've done and how you've turned your life around, mate, to be honest with you.
Thank you, buddy.
Absolutely brilliant. So do you know what? Let's just jump straight in. We're going to basically talk about your whole life story. So, probably the best thing to do is go back to when you were young and tell us what it was like. You were Stevenage boy?
Yeah, Stevenage lad. Yeah, I grew up in St Nick's in Stevenage. I was born in 1983, which seems a long time ago now. I'm 37, and I grew up with a single mum. Unfortunately, from what my nan and my auntie tell me, is that my dad didn't want anything to do with me. Wanted my mum to get rid of me. She didn't. She kept me, which was great. We grew up in Ripon Road in a flat above garages around St Nick's, like I said. It's quite hard growing up. Looking back now, we sort of grew up on hand-me-down clothes. Again, back then there was no such thing as not having a father or a single parent family. Back then, around the sort of early 90s, especially. I went to a junior school just over the road from me. I found it really tough. I'm a true believer in behaviour as a form of communication, and back then I was trying to communicate that I was struggling, but it was very, very difficult, and I'll do that by sort of swearing and kicking the teachers or running away. It was quite a struggle. I ended up getting expelled at the age of 9 from the junior school. At that point there was a lot of change in my life. So my mum met a partner, and I was shipped to my nan and granddad's, which was a good thing because my nan and granddad were always stability for me, including also my auntie and my uncle. They tried to support me when I was young. I was shipped to my nan and granddad's, which was just around the corner, and my mum went and lived with her partner. At that time, my mum fell pregnant with my brother, and they bought a house in York Road. At that point there, I sort of went and lived with my mum and her partner, and I went to another junior school, which was around the corner. And I settled quite well, even though life was a bit chaotic for me. Unfortunately, I didn't have a very good relationship with my mum's partner. He was quite mentally and physically abusive to me. Struck me a few times. One of them things you forgive and forget, but it's still there. And I believe that as we go through this chat, you'll see how some of these things have affected me later on in life. I feel that, growing up and being told, you're not someone's son, you'll be out of here when you're 16. We don't care about you, being locked out the house when you come home from school, not knowing if you're going to have a meal, the fridge always being empty with no food in it. It was such a big thing, and it caused me a lot of anxiety. I went to secondary school, and this continued and got worse, to the point of sometimes my mum used to open the window if she went out so I could break into my own house because I wasn't allowed a key. Used to have a lot of people come and knock for me, friends around the area, and he used to try and make out to my mum that I was a drug dealer and so on, try and make me to be this bad person that I wasn't. I got expelled then from the secondary school I was in, again for just misunderstood behaviour. I found out later on in life I'm dyslexic, so I've missed a lot of learning, and chunks of my learning still now are not there. I ended up going to another school over the other side of Stevenage. Now, if you know Stevenage quite well, I was from St Nick's. I went to a Sheffield school, and back then there was a lot of gang rivalry, which I was not involved in ever. If anything, I wasn't a tough kid. I was just a nice kid that was a bit lost in my ways. I found some good friends, though, if I'm honest with you, and some of them are close friends nowadays and supported me through my bad times. So that's really my childhood in a nutshell. It was quite a hard one. I had some really supportive times. Like I said, nan and granddad and my auntie and my uncle were fantastic for me. But it was a very difficult childhood growing up. And looking back, just everyone in sort of new trainers are being sort of holy trainers. You know, and my mum did try her best, please don't get me wrong, but my mum struggles a lot her own self, her own mental health, I would say, and how she sort of her own confidence.
It's interesting. Firstly, you mentioned that you're younger than me, so thanks for that. But but I grew up in the 80s myself in Stevenage, and you were right. You know, didn't find that there was many children that were on their own, really, single parents. So think about school myself. Like, there wasn't many kids. My parents divorced when I was, oh gosh, about 10, 11 as well. But you spoke about dyslexia, and I'm really interested in it because we spoke before this interview, and we both found out that we both suffer with it. So talk to me about your day-to-day life. How does that work for you?
It's difficult. I'm not going to lie to you. Thank God for voice notes and stuff like that. I just think it's one of them things I've got used to now, and one of them things that I've sort of become more confident in and not let it be a barrier. It used to be such a barrier for me. And as we talk on, obviously, you know about my career of teaching and becoming an assistant head, which we'll talk about in a minute. But obviously, I needed a lot of support around that. And sometimes I used to have to ask someone, you know, one of my colleagues, could you check my spellings before I sent a report out to parents, or could you do it for me? And you constantly question yourself, which knocks your confidence. And nowadays I'm trying not to do that. And when I send an email now, which is quite a good tip, I actually put, you know, before I start, I actually have dyslexia. So everyone knows. And if there's any problems, just give me a shout, because I think then exactly you're giving the people you know, give them something that they know, so they can understand if there is something wrong with your spelling or your grammar, they can just talk to you about it, instead of actually, you know, them pulling you up on it and you feeling a bit silly, because that's what happens. You do feel stupid sometimes.
Oh, spell check is my survival. That's the only thing I can rely on.
That as well.
So, so you told us a bit about your childhood. What happened as you got into your later teens? Was it then trying to find work? Did you leave school at 16? I know that for us, I think maybe growing up at a similar time, it was pretty much, if you weren't clever enough, you were slung out of school at 16 and told to go and fend for yourself. And that's certainly what happened to me anyway. I had to find a job.
Yeah, that sort of happened. I mean, I'll be honest with you, through my younger years, I always used to paper around or work on market stalls in Stevenage on the outdoor market. So I was trying to earn money just to try and buy myself stuff or food and things like that. And, you know, it gave me it helped me progress and give me social skills in a strange way. You know, 14, 15, probably lacked a lot of confidence, lacked a lot of social skills. So that really helped me working on the market stall, and also helped me with my maths, actually, which I wasn't great with either, you know, as you can imagine. But yeah, so I went on. I went to my school, and they actually offered me to stay in sixth form, which was really nice. The school I stayed at got expelled from, then went to another one. I ended up going to a little college, Ridgemont Park in Stevenage, to do some carpentry and joinery coursing, which was a good time. I found myself sort of not really enjoying it though in the job I was in. I made snooker tables over in Nebworth, helped convert them with some really good people actually. But it just wasn't the right time for me. I wasn't really ready to listen. I wasn't really ready to sort of progress. I was so behind in everything, and it was hard, you know. I then started going to the boxing club, and this was just by chance. I was training one night there, and the guy was running a security company, and he said, "I need some doorman for tonight." I mean, I was 16 and a half at this point. And I said, "I'll do it." And he said, "Yeah, you're a big lad, come down." So down I went into Stevenage, working down the old town on a few bars. It was an eye opener, but I quite liked it, if I'm honest with you. I remember talking to a teacher in school, and they asked me, I said, "What do you want to do when you leave school?" I said, "I want to be a bouncer." Don't ask me why I wanted to be a bouncer. I wanted to be a bouncer. And they said, "Well, you can't have work experience as a bouncer in year 10. But I went and done it at 16 and a half, which was good. Sort of got the bug for it. It felt like sort of easy money at times, should I say. And I went and worked in Kingston upon Thames for a good 6 months. And then I worked in Uxbridge for a long time, for about 12 years. I worked with a guy called Paul, we call him Tall Paul. He was a good friend of mine. You know, we worked together. He's a big lad, 6'5", sort of 20 stone at the time. I was probably about 15 stone, and, you know, tiny, if I'm honest with you. But, you know, he quite enjoyed working. We worked together well. At that point then, I sort of started working nightclubs up there. Ended up working with a guy who's quite high profile, become a murderer, killed a lot of women, called Levi Belfield. He went on to kill like Millie Dowler and people like that, which affected me a little bit in my later life. Especially when I watched the documentaries, I was shaking that guy's hand every night, you know, and working with him. And obviously he was going off and killing and sort of raping women, which wasn't the best, as you can imagine. But back then, you know, you're looking up to all these different types of role models, looking in a strange way for a father figure, looking for someone to guide you. And sometimes they are the wrong people that are guiding you. And obviously that happened a few times. It was a good time working the door. It taught me a lot. Again, I think every experience should be a positive experience and take a positive from it. I learned how to talk. I learned how to, you know, be with people, communicate. It built my confidence up a lot. So it was quite a positive thing.
And did this like feel like a career for you, something that you wanted to continue doing, or did you feel like you were in the wrong place, even though you were learning all of these skills and different parts to your life?
At times I thought about setting up a security company myself. I'm glad I didn't. I wasn't tough enough, and I definitely didn't have the brain, if I'm honest with you. But it just felt like a stopgap. Like it always felt like I wanted to do something else, but I didn't know what. So, you know, I was up there working, and you know, other people were working, and I was just thinking, well, I just want to get money. I just want to get money and survive. You know, home life was quite difficult and was getting harder and harder. With like the Richmond Park thing, he was getting sort of £50 a week. Now, you know, I had to give half of that for rent money, and you know, and then some of it you want to buy food, and I was just struggling, you know. So, but the lifestyle, you know, I was at that point, then I was 17. You know, I shouldn't legally even be going in clubs, let alone working the door. So it was quite, you know, it was good, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I've always worked in the same industry, really, the leisure centre down the town, and I've stayed in leisure, now working within a school setting, but still kind of behind leisure. And I was the same. Literally, was on a YTS scheme. I was on £40 a week. My dad took rent money off me, and it was just the way it was, wasn't it? Really, to be fair.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So, during this time, was it before or after that you ended up in prison?
Yes, I ended up in prison during this time. It was nothing to do with the security industry. You know, just what we used to do is we used to, obviously we'd work weekends, but go out on a Wednesday evening in Stevenage and around, and it was quite a cheap night. Myself and my friends used to have competitions, you know, how many reefs you could buy in there, you know, 10, 15 reefs.
You were going to the same place as me then, mate.
Yeah. and we'd sort of, you know, get seriously drunk. At the time, you know, girls were a big thing, you know, in my life. I suppose in a strange way, where I wasn't getting the love at home, I was looking for it in females, if that makes sense. And sort of around so many different sort of females. Had a couple of girlfriends, and I suppose the week before I got done for the charge, which we'll talk about in a minute, I got into a scrape outside Tesco's in Stevenage, where 5 gentlemen jumped me. They put my head off the trolley rack in, which was a metal bar at the time. Don't ask me how I managed to jump up quicker and hit a couple of them. And I suppose looking back, it was quite evil. And I followed one into Tesco's because he ran away, and I hit him into the Tesco's sandwich bar at the time, and come back and kicked the other one. Well, the police arrested me at the time and kept me overnight. And then sort of, not that it's their fault, again, I want to say this, is they sort of not laughed it with me, but sort of said, you know, 5 guys jumped you and you got the better of them. And I think looking back at that, I was already on a pedestal I shouldn't have been on. You know, I'm 17, working nightclubs. You know, I'm walking, if I could explain to you, I was walking to a nightclub. They would open up VIP tables for us and, you know, let us drink for free. And you can imagine, you know, I'll take an entourage in with me of 10 people, and we'd all sit and drink for free. So I was already on a pedestal I should never, ever have been on, because like I said to you, I was quite a weak kid, but then I sort of learned how to fight, and then I become a bit tough, and then the ego took over, working the doors in London. And it just, you know, you can imagine 17 turning up at doors in London to work is a massive thing, working with some big people. Then it went on to sort of bodyguarding some people, some grime artists, some garage artists, working alongside them, who are still now my friends, which is great. And then just sort of it progressed from there, and the pedestal got massive, and everyone's telling you the greatest thing in the world, and everyone's telling you, look at you, you know, you start thinking you're something you're not, if that makes sense.
Sure. No, definitely. I used to pretend when I went down the leisure park that we were professional footballers, so we tried to get in the doors a lot of the time. So I must have tried playing it on you at some point down there. So yeah. So yeah, you ended up in prison.
Yeah, so
how did you feel about it?
Yeah, so the Wednesday after I just spoke to you about where I had the fight, and the police sort of just said, "Oh, you know," and again, it wasn't their fault. You know, they were just talking to me. I went out, got seriously drunk, and at the time, you know, I had an ex-girlfriend and a girlfriend, and an argument happened. I walked through the town centre, and I'm trying to sort of talk to them. I can't really remember what I said, and I can't really remember the situation but I see the CCTV in Luton Crown Court, so I know what happened. Yeah. Two guys approached me. You shouldn't talk to women like that, which, you know, is correct. You shouldn't talk to women like that if I was talking badly. And one sort of was pushing me. Another gentleman come over, and he started having a go at me as well. And as he had a go at me, one of the gentlemen punched me in the face. So obviously I reacted, and the third gentleman realised that the two guys were starting on me and joined me. If I'm honest with you, it was outside, which was the old Renaissance, you know, so there was a camera there, the bus station. I'm just lucky, I'll be honest with you now, that guy is still alive. That's how bad it was. And I'm lucky that, you know, I'm here to tell the story. And I'm lucky he's also here to, you know, to talk, because it wasn't a nice experience. Looking at the camera, I got quite emotional, and thinking about it now is the same. You know, I have deep regret from it. You know, at that time in my life, it wasn't coming together, and I was spiraling out of control. And if I'm completely honest with you, I was either going to end up in prison or dead, if I'm completely honest with you.
Did you feel that you felt a bit untouchable, because you were young, you've been doing this job, which is, you know, you are put on a bit of that's him, and you got a bit of a reputation, so you think, oh, I can do what I like now. Is that how you felt?
No, definitely. I felt untouchable and on a pedestal. I should never have been on, mixing with, you know, some. I was naughty people in London. Was probably the right word. You know, in the limelight. Again, I'm 17. I'm so easily influenced, and you can see how young people get influenced by, you know, older people nowadays, or, you know, look up to, you know, these rappers and stuff like that in America, that, you know, and that's what happened to me. You know, I started living this lifestyle that I thought was sort of right, and I was happy, and I was so unhappy, and obviously it ended me up in 18-month stint in prison.
What was it like? I mean, I've been into court once myself. I've sat in court. I've been part of a jury service, but also I've been on the end of a rather silly speeding fine. And I remember sitting in court one day thinking, I'm in trouble here, Mum. But how did it feel when they said, you know, you're going down?
It was hard. I mean, I'll be honest with you, they told me from word go, solicitors, and I wouldn't believe it. So I told solicitors, I don't want you, I want someone else then. I went to magistrates first of all, and then they said on January the 24th, 2002, so I actually remember it, you're at Crown Court, you're going to be sentenced. I wasn't sure, if I'm honest with you. Everyone keeps saying, oh, it's your first offence, it's your first offence, it's ABH, you're going to get away with it. I knew what I'd done was wrong, you know, it was extremely wrong. Again, I can't remember much of it. It was a blackout. I was so intoxicated, but also I think, you know, I blacked out at that point of that situation. And I think, you know, going there and getting that sentence was hard. I think the more embarrassing thing was my name to be splashed all over the papers. The Comet and the Herald at the time, it was splashed across them, you know, my family name, my granddad's name, who helped bring me up, and you know, I was proud of. And it was difficult, and it affected me mentally as well, coming, you know, in there and coming home. But it was really difficult, you know, to have someone else control your future. And you know, 18 months was a long time. Yes, I'd done 7, and I come home on a tag. There's a long time in there of what was going on in there, and it's not an easy place to be.
So what was it like really in there? I see it on documentaries as close as I've ever got to it. But how tough was it for you?
Yeah, it was tough. Like I said to you, I'm not really a tough guy. I'm really not. You know, I can box a little bit. You know, and I'm quite a strong guy, but I'm not a tough guy. I'm more about kindness, and I definitely say that nowadays. It's all about kindness. But in there was different. I mean, I first of all went to Wood Hill, which is 23-hour bang up, so you have to be in your cell for 23 hours a day. Wow. I was put in with a guy. We had a TV. I'll be honest with you on this day, and you know, at first, I'll be honest with you, the first little bit felt like I'm just having a sleepover at the mates, which sounds terrible, but that's how it felt. Yeah. And then they shipped me up north to Onley. I was told that you're not allowed to have a cellmate because you've got a violent conviction. So they chucked me in a cell. I'll be honest with you, Jay, I'm not going to lie. I sat there and cried my eyes out like a baby. It all sort of hit home, everything, if I'm honest with you, what was going on. And I sat there and I said, I don't want this. And anyway, I was on the induction wing. There was a couple of lads from Stevenage there that I knew, which was quite nice. They said hello to me. And they said to me, the governor said to me, what do you want to do? I said, well, I just obviously just want to go home. You know, I couldn't, I just want to keep my head down. I just want to go home. So they shipped me onto a wing. And it was probably some of the worst things I've ever seen in my life, if I could explain to you. I mean, there was people bouncing in and out. So 1 minute they're in, 1 minute they're out. You know, that was their life. There was people that were so jealous if you got a letter that they'd try and fight you. There was so much that I look at now, mental health, but back then it wasn't really said as mental health. You know, people trying to hang themselves, cut themselves with razors. People, this is no lie, eating their own feces for tobacco. You know, to try and gain tobacco, fighting. I mean, I was in the YOI, which is a Young Offenders Institute, and next door was the juvenile one, which was just fighting non-stop. You could hear it, but it was just so much hatred. I mean, I remember towards the end of my sentence, I went and played football. We played against another wing, and I'm quite a big guy. I'm not going to lie to you. I play centre half, and I just knock people around. And so I play. Well, I knocked this guy. He got up and slapped me, and I was surrounded by 10 blokes. And I thought, I don't want to be going down this path again. And I said, I just want to go home. 2 weeks, and I was going home. If I start getting into more fights, I don't want to be doing that. And it was quite interesting. He then come to my wing, got sent to my wing on the last week, and he had his head down the whole time, which proved to me that he wasn't like that. He just, in front of all his friends, he wanted to be this big guy, and he was quite embarrassed. And I think that's where some of the behaviour comes from, and when we talk about youth now, I think some of the behaviour we're seeing is because sometimes they're embarrassed, they don't know how to react, and then they put on a bit of a front. But
so you were talking about people coming in and out, the same person. When you were in there, did it make you think, all right, you did the crime, and you did the time for it, but did it ever make you think, oh, well, this could be actually a life that you think you could continue and get out and go back in, get out and go back in? Or did the penny kind of drop for you in there that this had to be it, get out and never ever come back?
When that door shut, mate, and they locked it behind me when I was on my own, that was that I was like, no way, and no one should be going through this. A lot of my friends before me have been to prison. I was probably the last one out of the sort of group that I hung around with, and I was just like, this is just not for me. You're controlled constantly. You're told when you can shower. You eat, sleep, and go to the toilet in this room you're in with no electricity. You had to have batteries for everything. You had to earn money which is right. Earn money to get things in there. It was not a life I wanted. To be fair, they called them screws, but one of the prison officers said to me, Gaze, and they call you by the number that you had. You could have just done a week in, you'd have learnt your lesson. And I said, yeah, I would have. I'll be honest with you, it was a wake-up call and a half that I needed. And it taught me about how life can be so low and how bad it can be when you're in there, and seeing people in and out, non-stop. That was their life. That was their stability. That's all they knew, Jay,
Yeah. And the last question on it then, do you think it was a correct punishment for you?
Yeah, I do. I'll be honest with you. I'm all about finding a positive from a negative, and that's why I'm doing this with you today, obviously. But for me, yeah, it was. I needed that to wake me up. I needed that to show me that this life, this is what you're going down. I was, like I said to you, I was either going to end up in a serious stretch or dead. I needed a wake up call, and that woke me up. I had like thousands of friends or acquaintances at that point, and I would probably say 10 of them contacted me, or who are still my friends nowadays, and sort of kept in contact, supported me. And it was difficult, mate. It was really difficult, phone calls over a pay phone, being told when you could use that. It just woke me up to life. It showed me that, why do you want to be going down this path when you can do so much more?
And how were you said some friends contact you, but when you eventually came out, how were you received in the wider world by the community, by friends and family?
I felt quite embarrassed myself, when I come home, quite sort of fragile. My self-esteem was quite low, as you can imagine. I hadn't been around sort of contact of people, like as in mainstream people, would I say, and around sort of females, for example, for a long time. To be fair, everyone sort of picked up the phone and said, "Oh, it's good to see you back." I think some people were quite reserved to talk to me because they probably thought I was angry with them or upset that they didn't write to me. Yeah. For me, I knew I needed to change my life at that point, change what I was doing and change where I was going and what I was going to do.
And how did you do that? I mean, you see so many stories of people coming out of prison. I know nowadays applying for jobs, if that was on your CV, I can imagine it would be probably one of the hardest things to break and get where you need to.
No, definitely. So I was quite lucky. One of my friends was still working as a nightclub bouncer where we worked before. And they offered me to come and basically live in the pub. So I went and lived in the pub over in London and got away from everything. After returning actually to a few of my jobs that I'd done before, I didn't really ever want to drink again, and I didn't ever really want to work nightclubs again. But I had to face them fears in a strange way. I had to say to myself, right, I've got to do this. So I did have a couple of drinks and in a secure, what I felt was a safe time for me. Yeah. And I did return to a little bit of door work, but with a different attitude, with a more of a friendly attitude. It was quite strange because back to the prison, not to jump, is when I first went to Wood Hill, the night before we got called to a place in Hatfield and we had to throw quite a few guys out. Well, when I turned up in Wood Hill, they're all in that prison and they're all quite nice to me though. And when I went to Onley, there was some of the guys in there that I knew from when I worked in Uxbridge. So it was quite strange. But you're going back to that. Yes, it's been a hard thing having that on especially on my DBS or on my CV. Yeah. I've had to write a lot of cover letters and explain to people all through my years, that I've changed and that's not me no more. And there's an experience. And again, I'm trying to take the positives from it, from the negative that happened to me in my life. And I'm trying to just build a future for myself. And I want to help young people. And as you could imagine, back then in 2002, no one would even let me anywhere near a young person because of the record I had. It got to 2004. And I got given an opportunity by Hillingdon Borough Council, a lovely lady called Laura, who I owe a lot to. I sort of just showed her and said, listen, this is what I'm about. And she said, come down and do some youth work. And she managed to get me through. And I went down and started coaching young kids football and sort of just working with them in youth clubs. And I just loved it. I fell in love with it, Jay, like just helping young people. Again, I couldn't tell them my story, but I just, I want to help you. I could see a lot of me in them, how they were, and some of them get expelled from school and stuff like that at the time. And I wish I could have done more. I then got offered an opportunity to come to Stevenage by a friend of mine to work in a basically a Peru. And it was a good time. At that point, I learned a lot at that point, and they started to fold up. They started to lose all their funding, I think, if I remember. And a great lady called Jenny Warren, she said to me, Dan, there's a job on the internet here. Why don't you go for it? It's a teaching assistant of PE in a school. And I said, they're not going to touch me again. My confidence took over. No, they will. And she really gave me the confidence. And I'm really grateful, for her doing this for me. And I sort of applied for the job and I met the head and he offered me the job on the spot. Which was amazing, felt so good at the time. And then I went on to just build my career from there. I become a sort of teacher, unqualified teacher, PE teacher, a head of PE, and then assistant head of the school, which was in charge of behaviour. Again, I couldn't share this story, but I managed to build so many great relationships with the young people. They were all boys, and teaching PE. I was all about teaching leadership and building self-esteem and all the tools that you need around from PE, which people don't realise that you get, will take you on further into life. I loved it. I loved my job. Everything I learned, I taken from all them young people I work with. You can do degrees, you can do courses, but everything I learned was from them young people, and they made me mold and change in a strange way to how you work with young people.
Sure. No, that's amazing. I mean, I think it's great, especially after talking about things like your dyslexia, but also obviously having in time in prison to be able to turn your life around and be able to end up getting into a job, but also then progressing as well is fantastic. you're right. I've never done a degree because I've always been too worried about my dyslexia. As we spoke before the interview. So yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, it's completely hats off to you, mate. It's brilliant.
Thanks.
So now you also do a bit of charity work as well?
Yeah, so whilst I was at my school, I met a great guy called Simon, actually, really, really good guy, charity fundraiser for Great Ormond Street Hospital. I met him at a Spurs Legends game, actually. And
do Spurs have any legends?
Yeah, they have quite a few. We'll talk about that another time. I started talking to him, and I said, I've got like a charity. I do a lot of charity work for like the mayor in Hertsmere at the time, and had a really good relationship with Hertsmere Borough Council and with Arsenal. So we did a lot of stuff with Arsenal around charity stuff. And then I met a gentleman called Paul Rubin, and he brought in the Amy Winehouse Foundation to my school. And I just said, listen, I'm looking for a charity to raise money for. Would you fancy us setting up a Amy Winehouse Foundation charity team? They said, yeah, we'll get you a kit. All of a sudden, he got me a kit, kitted out the whole school, which was really, really nice. And we ended up raising sort of close to about £8,000, £9,000 by playing football for it. You know, it would be once a month in Stevenage, get a group of friends together, and then sort of once a year we'd have a big game. So we played at Hitchin against the Celeb FC football team.
Yeah.
And then in 2015, we played against Tottenham Legends team and a few celebs that were in there, like Rolf Little, and that was a massive achievement. And I just so many of my friends that support me with that in the team. I then went on to set up do a bit of work for the Josh Hanson Trust, so doing some work around knife crime through charity, through football as well, raising them money. And I also put the gloves on and boxed for cancer in Stevenage on my birthday a few years ago, which was awesome. So I think it's all about giving back sometimes. And I think that's so important.
Yeah, I do. I do quite a lot of charity. I try to do as much as I can, to be honest with you. I ended up running a project in the Gambia in Africa to this day, which I feel like I've got massively unfinished work. But we were due out to go to we helped build classrooms and playgrounds and all sorts out there. But due to the current restraints of travel, it's just not happening. So no, that's brilliant. It's super. I think the best things you can do is so rewarding, isn't it? Making money for charity, seeing another cause get a benefit out of it.
No, definitely. And I have to thank all my friends. There's about 50 of us that in the squad that all help. I've got a guy called Barry Hossack who supports me with everything, and then the rest of the team who are just there all the time. Whoever it's sort of we play Stevenage Borough Fan Club a few times recently.
Yeah.
Where we raise money for a school with special educational needs, and then we sort of just built. We haven't done much for a long time, but we're getting a bit old now and unfit. And when we do play against people, they're quite young and fast. But it's not about about the winning of the game. Everyone puts £10 in the pot. By the time we pay for the pitch, you end up with sort of £200 for the charity, which is really, really good.
Brilliant. Well, I promise to get on that pitch with you soon, mate. It'd be brilliant.
Yeah,
coming in, so not many awards are ever run at Tottenham. As you can understand now, I'm an Arsenal fan as well as a Stevenage fan. So, you got a Tottenham award. How did that come about, and what's it mean to you?
Yeah, no. So I got a Hotspur Hero Award. I get goosebumps talking about it now, actually. So my close friend I worked with for 11 and a half years, Luke Hillard, his name is, a fantastic guy. He nominated me for basically everything I've done, charity, not just through the work through lockdowns. I was working in a school, but also everything I'd done before, how I'd worked with young people. Obviously, Tottenham run me up. It was quite a strange conversation. The guy who ran me up, Billy, who's a great guy, he knew me from the charity work I'd done with Tottenham. He told me it's well deserved. Again, it didn't really sink in, Jay. I'll be honest with you. When you're used to so much negativity in your life, to start getting positives is quite hard, and it was the papers got hold of it, and this is going to sound really crazy, but this meant more to me actually, where the Comet put it across the Comet, talking about from 2002 to now. They're putting more, this is what this guy has done. The Biggleswade Chronicle done a big spread on me and talking about like what we're talking about now, my life, which was really nice. But it was powerful to get it. It meant a lot. Again, I dedicated it to everyone I've ever worked with, because you are everything in a team. You're not an I. We're a we. Some of the great people I work with that mentored me and supported me, but also them young people. Every young person I worked with, that was to them as well, because they were the ones who helped me and supported me in a strange way. I learned so much from them. If I can tell any teacher in the world, you know, actually listen to your pupils, because you will learn so much from them as much as, you know, you're teaching them.
Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant, mate. It's really, really good. Amazing. It's lovely, isn't it? When you get some recognition like that, I mean, it's not about the award itself, is it? I won Pride of Stevenage a few years back, and, you know, I felt really proud. My nan ran Bedell Community Centre in Stevenage for all of her life in Stevenage when she moved out from London. So the recognition's great, but it is about all the people that are around you and have helped contribute towards it.
No,
so
definitely, mate.
Listen, what would you say to yourself now if you could speak to your 18-year-old Dan Gaze?
Firstly, be yourself. Don't try and be something that you're not. I would also say, you know, we can find positives from negatives, and actually there are good people here that want to help you, support you. So don't shy away. Actually, it's good to talk. I think that's so important, and I think that, you know, I just think that's the key. You know, there's people like myself now, for example, but, you know, there is people that wanted to help me, but I just brushed them away and rejected them because I was scared of being hurt. But actually to have talked to them and listened to them and then move forward with my life in that way instead of making the mistakes. But then if you do make a mistake, you can change.
What are you doing with yourself now? Because I can see your top says the Dan Gaze support. What's happening here?
Yeah, so I left my assistant head post on the 31st of this year of August, and I decided to set up sort of as a sole trader for a little bit of help from a friend to basically go out, mentor, do outreach, detach works, go into schools, talk to young people about my life, support them and be a listening ear. So basically what I've just told you, what I need is what I now am. I'm now trying to work with as many young people as I can around Sheffield, Hitchin, Hemel, Stevenage, just trying to support the best way we can, especially at the moment with all this lockdown stuff. I feel that mental health in young people is so crucial. You know, most of them are tied onto an Xbox or a PlayStation in the day. I think as adults, we could say we've probably had to check ourselves a few times, you know, let alone the children who are probably struggling to regulate or struggling to find their emotions, you know, and trying to explain them to us. I'm a true believer, again, in behaviour as a form of communication, and I really want to get that across. It's really important. And I think children and young people are just crying out for help at the moment. They just want someone to talk to. They just want someone to listen to. Well, that's me at the moment, and there's a lot of other great people that are doing this as well. I work with a great lady called Ez and another one called Nick, who are fantastic at what they do and sort of helped me along the way as well, which has been great. I'm just out there just trying to support as much as I can with any young people that I can.
So you touched on obviously lockdown and the COVID issues in a minute. It's really, really tough, and I think you're right. Everyone is struggling at some point throughout lockdown 1, 2, 3, or 4. But if someone's watching this today and they said, you know, like I've got my son or my daughter or my husband or my wife who just aren't themselves, what would you say could really help them? What's the best thing?
I think talking to, spending some time with them, be that listening ear, non-judgmental listening ear, you know, also catch them doing something good and praise them. I'm all about positive praise. I think that's so important, you know, and public praise is so important as well, actually, you know, around people, you know, positive reinforcement when you talk to young people is so important. You know, if there's something you do need to pick that up privately as well. But I think it's so important that, especially with the young people, take them away. You know, I love that McDonald's advert. Have you seen it with the snowball? I think that's something that, you know, is so powerful. Like I look at that and I think, what an advert that is. You know, coming off the games, let's do something as a family. You know, even asking the young person, what do you want to do? Give them a voice. You know, not, oh, we're going to the shops today, we're going to this. What would you like to do today? And it doesn't all have to be financial. You know, it have to all be, you know, go bowling and stuff like this, where it's going to cost a lot of money. It could just be a walk in the woods and build a den, or it could just be, you know, taking the dog for a walk, or going to the park, or just kicking the ball. Through lockdown, I did a lot of football videos, which are on my YouTube page, of, you know, trying to help people that, you know, if you're just with your mum or your dad or your siblings, you could just go and kick a ball and do the drills, which I think is important. It's just getting out and doing something, but also talking. I mean, talking today to you, this is you know, quite a good thing, and I think for you and for me, actually. But just being able to talk, I think talking is it's such a powerful thing to talk.
No, definitely. So come on, what's for Dan Gaze the next 10 years? Where do you see yourself?
I want to continue my journey, Jay. I want to continue to help as many young people to go down the right pathways and try and help them. I really want to help sort of things like probation service. I feel they're a tick box exercise. I feel that, you know, young offenders or people that are, you know, getting into crime, I really want to support them and show them there's different ways. And when they're ready to talk, to be there to talk to them. I want to go out and share this story to as many people as I can, adults or young people. I'm just about to set up a project, which is Get Off the Street and Use Your Feet, which is a football project supported by Sheffield Council. And I think in the long run, maybe set up my own sort of school or my own sort of project to help as many young people as I can and support them. The journey's just started, but I can see a big road ahead, and it will be windy. And I know that there will be a few sort of speed bumps along the way, but I feel that if we're determined to get there, we're determined to get there. And I feel that young people need as many people like us and other people support them and just show them how life is so important to them and how precious they are.
Brilliant. Well, look, Dan, it's been absolutely amazing talking to you today. When I first saw your video, your story, I couldn't believe it, and I felt the need to share it because, you know, you've had your trouble past, but you know you've turned it around. You know what I mean? And I think you should deserve a massive pat on the back for that, mate. So thank you. Would you like to say anything before we're done?
No, thank you for giving me the time. I'm always available for a chat if anyone wants to have a chat, friends, non-friends. I'm hoping that we can get this out to as many people as we can and help support them, and hope everyone has a great Christmas.
And how can people find you? What's the best way of contacting you if they're seeing this today and thought I could do with speaking to this guy? Yeah,
so I could put my number. I can send you my number, so we can put it at the bottom of the link. I have a YouTube channel now, Dan Gay Support Service, and also I've got an email which I will send you, which you can put at the bottom as well. So yeah, we could do that.
Great, absolute pleasure talking to you today, Dan.
Thanks, Jay. You as well, mate.